To the meeting of the Executive Cabinet Member for Highways, Transport and Regulatory Services. For the benefit of the tape, my name is Councillor Nadeem Ayub. I am deputising for Councillor Kuram. Today is Wednesday, the 16th of April, 2025, and time has just gone 9:30 a.m. Okay, just running through the agenda. Firstly, monitoring of the decisions. Anything to come off here?
I'm not sure. Officers will advise me either now or outside of this meeting if there's anything additional to come off. I sent a revised one around yesterday. Just some extra information from January on Patricia's item.
Any questions from anybody on that? Nope. Okay, can't see any indication. Right, before I
Councillor Flitcroft's just indicated.
Oh, Councillor Flitcroft.
Yeah. Thank you. Fine.
But
Can't hear you, Councillor
we can't hear you, Councillor Flitcroft.
No.
Nope.
We've got you back.
Oh, we got you.
Oh, I heard you. Yeah, sorry about that. I'd just like to know, with regards to the Falmouth and Kersley TROs that were recently approved, do we have any timescale for them to be starting?
Is that you, Dwayne?
Yes, it is, Chair. Thank you. I was just having a look down the report to find them. So those were approved in March, Councillor. Yep. So the update is just of the report that we've still to let that contract, but I'm hoping we'll be able to update at the next meeting. But the lining works are in the process of being let to our contractor at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Dwayne.
Thanks. Anybody else before we move on to the next item? Nope, I can't see any indicators. Okay, so before I move on to the next item, I'd just like to say, before I invite council colleagues to present the next report, please note that the item 4.3 parking review of parking activity and charging is to be disregarded by members on the call. I can confirm that Councillor Kuram will be considering the report in full aside from that item. And a decision has been taken to remove the proposal to enforce traffic regulation orders on all car parks, including those in district centres, from any decision today. This will be recorded within the minutes of the meeting. Okay, moving on to the next item, the Director of Place Strategic Budget Report 25-26. Janet, are you going to take us through that?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. So this is the Director of Place Budget Report for 25-26. This report is the final stage of the corporate business planning process for the financial year. The overall budget for the Directorate of Place is 34.493 million, and for this portfolio it's 7.4 million. The Directorate has been given a savings target of just over £1 million. Section 4 provides members with details of the programme. Section 6 provides details of any fees and charges that are proposed that vary from the underlying budget assumption of 2%. And finally, the Executive Cabinet Member is asked to note the contents of the report and to approve the recommendations in Section 9 that are relevant to this portfolio. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Janet. I've already got Councillor Hayes indicating, so go ahead, Councillor Hayes.
Yes, thanks very much. The concern I've got is back to the good news we had about increased funding for highways. We know there's a massive problem throughout, and we're trying to meet a lot of this through area forum money, or whatever it's called now. One example, I think we should be reviewing how we look at this. We've been looking at trying to get a stretch of Church Road dealt with, and we're being quoted £540,000, well beyond what we've got the ability. Is there any possibility of actually creating a budget again for mainly residential roads, but probably a bit more than just residential roads? Sorry, I'm a bit vague, but I think Dwayne will probably understand what I'm getting at.
Thanks, Councillor Hayes. Yep, Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, as you know, we've discussed on previous meetings, we have got additional funding from the DFT, which is really positive, and that's somewhere in region of, if we get the additional incentive funding as well, about 1.5 million. The 1.5 million will flow through our normal kind of priorities. So residential roads will not be a priority, as you're aware, Councillor, but within the budget amendments this year, the council has proposed £1 million worth of additional spend for highways. Now, because that's additional council allocated funding, that's a different criteria. So when we get money from the DFT, it has to be spent in a certain way, and that's on our key route network and our A, Bs and C roads, and that's to demonstrate that we're taking a risk-based approach to our main routes. But any additional funding, like the 12 million a few years ago, this is additional funding. So that the intention of that additional funding is that it will all go into residential roads, or certainly our unclassified network anyway, whether it be residential or rural, and also quite a large footway program, because of footways is another area where we don't invest any intervention, because unfortunately the DFT allocations will go on the carriageways. So we're intending to do a footway program and a residential road program. We're currently pulling that program together, and it's our intention to bring the capital program to a June meeting. So Councillor Curran will be asked to approve our proposed program for 25-26 in a June meeting. I hope that answers the. Oh God, you come straight back at me, Councillor, already.
Yes, thank you, Dwayne. I know you're in a very difficult situation on this, but Church Road is just one example. We've got roads all over the place. I'm sure in all wards where there's problem. Church Road, Smithills, is more than just a residential road. It's not a classified road, but to actually have a quote, as I say, £540,000 for doing one road, and then we've got the extension of it, New Church Road, which is probably about 200,000. The money we've got will just go nowhere, as we know. I mean, we're doing our best through area forum monies, but basically, you get perhaps one road done a year. And although it's good news relative to recent years, we're in a crisis situation. It's more than just filling potholes. The roads are basically crumbling underneath in many cases. I'm sure you'll know.
Yeah, go ahead, Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, I mean, yeah, and we covered this in our scrutiny last year. So something like 34% of our unclassified network is in that condition, in a red, that we would classify as a red condition. What we are doing to address that, apart from the £1 million that we've got from council funding, is we've pulled together a patching programme. So there will be, so obviously we haven't got the funding, we haven't got £700,000 to totally resurface and retreat an entire network in that area. But what you will see is some patching. And then once we've patched an area like that, it may be suitable for a surface treatment in the future. But as you've stated yourself, we haven't got the funding for total reconstruction. But what we need to do is make it safe. So we're pulling together a patching program at the moment, which will hopefully include that location. Emma will be able to confirm that with you, Councillor, anyway, if you write to her, because she met yesterday with colleagues across operations and one of our contractors to pull together that patching program. So they're working on that at the moment.
Thanks, Dwayne. Councillor Hewitt? You're on mute, Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, sorry about that. I put my hand down rather than the mute button. Yeah, actually, it was. I'll bring my second question forward because it was actually on 5.2, which has just been raised. Really, it came up at the recent B Network committee meeting where the committee was expressed its concern about this sort of proposed clawback or DFT not funding the additional funding on highways repair. So I think Dwayne alluded to it a little bit in terms of what the incentivization would consist of, just to make sure that we are sort of making sure we get all of that additional funding. So I wanted to ask that, but I think you might have touched on it with the key road network and whatnot. And then it was just sort of a simple statement. Well, you know, we have invested sort of in the past record levels, sort of £12 million. We've allocated those sort of funding before. So it seems that, you know, to do whole roads in that way, it does take a lot of capital investment. And I remember at scrutiny last year, we were talking about the new settlement from DFT, and it was supposed to provide a forward plan. So how's it tying with that, really? And I'll say my second question is a different topic.
Yeah, go ahead, Dwayne.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. So, in terms of the incentive funding, so we have met with the DFT only. So, and I'm sure you saw all the announcements, because what the press has picked up on is that all councils now are going to have to report numbers of potholes that have been filled for the last 5 years. So, but obviously it's much more than that. So, the DFT have written to all highway authorities, and it's important to note that this is not an individual challenge for Bolton Council. This is all councils and all the road network right across the country are in this. And believe it or not, I have worked for other authorities as well, and our road network is in a relatively good condition, and it has been really, really well maintained, thanks to like the investment, like the £12 million and things like that. So this is not unusual. We're certainly nowhere near the bottom of a league table. So our highway network is a good, and we benchmark ourselves regionally across GM, and it is in a very, very good condition, really, considering the lack of investment over a significant number of years. You said yourself there, Councillor, that the highway network unfortunately deteriorates, and we estimated, I think in 2019, that we had a £92 million backlog, and I think our network deteriorates by about £18 million a year. So obviously we're massively underfunding that. But in regards to the incentive funding, we're very confident we're going to be able to achieve that. We have to publish criteria on our website by the 30th of June. Now, aside from numbers of potholes filled, there's lots of other information that we have to publish. Now, this is information about our condition of our network that we normally just send to the DFT, but it's not in the public domain. Now, obviously, the local government's determined that that's important for that to go into the public domain. Things like, condition of our A roads. So, for example, 2% of our A roads are in a red condition. It's things like that, and then whatever percentage of 4 or 8%, I can never remember, of B's and C's are in a red condition. These are things that we do send to the DFT, and they are published within massive DFT documents, but you have to go and find that information. And then there's going to be a further, but we're not going to get the funding in July. There's going to be a further criteria where we have to publish more information at the end of October, sorry. Now, the DFT haven't told us what we're going to have to publish at the end of October, other than that's going to be more of a regional publication. So this is going to, for all the 10 districts via TFGM and the combined authority are going to publish our data. Because we're through a CRSTS settlement, we have to do this as a region rather than individual authorities. So individual authorities will publish data end of June. Regionally, we'll publish end of October. Across our region and across all the districts, we're in a good state with all the data that we hold, and we've got all the information to publish. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to draw down that additional 300 and something or £400,000. So we're expecting to get the full 1.5 million. But the only small challenge is that we're going to get it very later on in this financial year. So it's going to be a Q4 spend. So we're gearing up we're going to gear up as if we've got that funding, and we're going to spend it all in Q4. But obviously we won't know that until the funding drops in our account, probably December, November at the earliest. I hope that answers the question.
Cheers. You got another question, Councillor Hewitt?
Yeah, I'll just come back on that one thank you for that, Dwayne. I'm glad that you're confident, and it sounds like it's a condition survey sort of evidence-based sort of thing, and I think it's right. Program for what you might achieve in year, and see what you get from the funding. Thank you for the answer. It was a different matter, Chair. It just in 3.5 of the report, at the time of the budget for last year, the raises in national insurance by the government sort of applied to councils. It was sort of left vague and as to whether the government would cover the cost in central funding. Since then, so the local government association and others have sort of asked for clarity, and also said that there's a shortfall was not met by additional grant funding. And that's not to mention sort of like perhaps any additional cost on the council that might occur from sort of increased supply chain costs, similar to what we've been just discussing. In fact, if you're contracting companies out to to try and achieve works in year, they've got increased costs. So they're you know, I appreciate that there are frameworks in place, but those inflationary things will pull through. So I just wondered, in 3.5 there was further no clarity really as to whether or not it would be covered by the settlement, or whether or not it would end up coming from, essentially revenue, and the monies that we would hope to spend on other services, but we're paying for those increased costs. I wanted clarity on that from 3.5, please.
Thanks. Yeah, Janet, are you gonna take that?
I will try, although I'm not sure I'm going to be able to answer the question. I'm going to have to take it away to the Borough Treasurer. The way the budget is calculated, as I'm sure Councillor Hewitt knows, is there's a lot of things that go into the mix. So we put the demand in there, then we bring in any funding that we've got. And then what falls out of that is the amount of savings that we need to find where the budget doesn't balance. What we don't often get is specific line items that would say the government are giving us this to fund the national insurance, the governor's giving us this fund to fund something else. We tend to get one settlement figure and then a number of grants that fall out of that. So what I will have to do is go and find out if we were told exactly how much money we would be getting for the national insurance, or whether it was part of the settlement figure. And I will come back to you on that. It's not in today, but I am seeing him tomorrow. So we'll find out and I will come back to you. My feeling is it was just part of the settlement, so we wouldn't be able to identify it separately. But if you don't mind, I'll just go and clarify that.
Thank you for that response. Yeah, happy for you to go away and find out. And yeah, my fear is that it comes out of settlement, but it'd be good to clarify. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I think Dwayne also wants to chip in, possibly.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So Councillor, unless I'm misunderstanding, I think you were talking there about some of our supply chain as well, and the additional costs to contractors. Was that your question, Councillor Hewitt, or was it really just in relation to council staff? Then, as Janet said, there's hopefully some support, but in relation to our supply chain, any contractors, then we will not be getting any central funding to support their increased costs. So there's an expectation that, and we've had that conversation with lots of because we do contract in a lot of staff, and we do have a lot of specialist contractors, certainly within highways. So the expectation is that they will bear those additional costs. We will not be able to support with them from any central government funding, and we have been asked, and we have checked that legally, but we're not going to get any additional funding for them.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Yeah, the LGA, I think, put the figure at over £1 billion of additional sort of knock-on supply chain costs, but that's obviously not just here, but across all of the local authorities. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't see anybody else. Any questions before we move on? Can't see any indicators. Okay, for the benefit of the tape, Janet and Ian, sorry, I note that report. Thank you. Okay.
And so you agree the recommendations, Councillor Ayoub, and also bearing in mind what you said at the start of the item. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we take them. You have to take into consideration what I said before the item, and yes, I note that report and approve the recommendations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, item 3 is the West Dorton car park charges petition. I believe Dwayne's going to take us through that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So we've just been talking about some of the cost savings were included within that previous report. So back in December to January, late 24 and early 25, we did undertake a consultation with residents over some proposed savings. One of the proposals was a review of our car parking charges and enforcement, and it did mention the fact that we were going to consider introducing charging for some of our car parks, and it also talked about potential enforcement, or the option for enforcement on some of our district centres. Now, unfortunately, this caused a little bit of confusion in the community, particularly in West Horton, who misunderstood the consultation and thought we were going to be charging for district centre car parks. And that was never mentioned in the consultation, and it wasn't an option that we were proposing as part of our savings. Well, that did result in a petition being received by the council, signed by 1,334 residents of West Horton, who were very opposed to introducing charging at a car park in West Horton. So it's really just, the report kind of explains that, and it's really just, Chair, for you to note the report, and also to note concerns of residents over introducing car parking charges in the future.
Thanks, Dwayne. Yes, for the completeness, again, I note that report and note the, well, from the public opinion as well. So thank you. Okay, is that Ian? So you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm mute. Yeah, nobody's indicated they want to speak, have they?
No, I can't see
Checking
any
on your behalf.
indicators.
Right. Okay, you've agreed that item. Okay.
Yeah, agreed item.
Okay.
And not the petition. Okay. So item 4 is the increase to the establishment for the licensing unit. I believe Patricia is going to take us through that.
I am, thank you. Just in brief, because obviously you've all had sight of the report. The report's requesting approval to increase the licensing unit establishment by 2 full-time licensing officers and a part-time licensing compliance officer. Increasing the establishment of the small team will ensure the service has sufficient resilience to meet statutory requirements. These positions will be permanent and filled in accordance with HR policies. The 2 licensing officers currently on fixed term contract positions have been funded by licensing income for about 10 years, and the report seeks to formalise this by making them permanent. Just a reminder, of course, that the licensing service is a cost recovery service. During the service review in 2021, the team lost a full-time licensing enforcement officer, and this has had an impact obviously on the ability of the compliance team. We've changed the name from enforcement to compliance to effectively carry out their duties. The part-time licensing compliance officer position will be funded through existing budgets and the new income which is being generated through the light night levy. So we're asking approval of the recommendation which is outlined at number 8, page 7 of the report, to increase the licensing unit establishment by 2 full-time officers and a part-time licensing compliance officer.
Thanks, Patricia. I can see a number of indicators. Councillor Hayes first.
Yes, thank you very much. I have no problem with the report, just a question. It's been well floated that Andy Burnham is going to be announcing an initiative to try and stop a lot of the people being registered from out of Greater Manchester. That presumably would have an impact on workload in the licensing department, or may well do. I don't know if you've had any preliminary idea what the announcement is going to be, but do we have any fear what that's going to mean?
Yeah, in fact, Andy's having, with the taxi leads, he's having around the table with all trade reps for the Greater Manchester trade representatives today. And then there'll be a press release in relation to that. And then there will be a wider trade consultation around that particular issue, which is called Out of Town. A number of other issues, of course, the Clean Air Plan, this 8 million that they've given to the Hackney Carriage. So yeah, we're across that. We're included in part of that consultation, yes. But you're right, obviously. If government would change the law, the Devolution Act, and you would have to be licensed in district, that would significantly increase the number of licensees we would have to license. We haven't seen a significant decrease in our numbers, interestingly, since Wolverhampton have started obviously opening up the market, and the Sefton and a few other authorities as well. But we haven't seen a massive drop in the number of our licenses with that. And I think that's probably based around age policies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Councillor Flitcroft? Can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Councillor Flitcroft.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, you're back. Just barely.
It's not a question, it's a statement. I'd just like to say that I think your part-time compliance officer ideally would be a full-time compliance officer. I know that the department's really, really busy. I just think that would be really good, but if it's not possible, it's not possible.
I think just to add to that, I agree. Obviously, what we were attempting to do was backfill. We already have a part-time officer. We were backfilling that into a full-time post. I think as the tobacco and vape, and it's being made quite clear that the licensing authority, which sits with the licensing team for the licensing act purposes, so the tobacco and vape will probably sit within this team. And I think at that point, once we've got a better understanding of the progression and approval of that and how that's going to operate, we will probably need to review the current structure of the team. But I absolutely agree with you, Councillor Fitcroft. You know, we are just putting a little bit of resource in there. We probably could do with more resource, but I think we probably need to wait for the tobacco and vape and see what impact that's going to have to us and the team. But thank you for that.
Thanks, Patricia. So Ian, for the benefit for everybody, the number 4, the item 4 increase to the establishment of the license unit, I approve that as well.
Report. Okay.
Thank you. Are you happy for us to drop off now?
I think we're all going to drop off in a second.
Oh,
so
that's
I know
super.
that's the end of the
Exciting.
agenda. Is that everything, Ian?
That is everything. Yes.
Yep. Can I just thank everybody for joining this morning, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just stop the
Thank you,
I'll just
Chair.
stop
Thank you,
recording now.
councillors.